Peace. Man, man. Happy now. Now is a vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now, I want to talk about how Saturn, uh, Saturn's job in structuring, in essence, our being or our life. Just of course, before I even get into this, of course, realizing like the zodiac signs. Matter of fact, just to say it, the zodiac signs in essence was created by what we would call Lucifer, or the devil, in order to seed energies into human bodies, into the physical existence. And then, matter of fact, like the story of the Christ energy and the Christ and the devil is the same person. So, that energy came down and brought us into the physical, made the zodiac signs, and in essence, though, it locked us into a certain vibrations by being influenced by these planets and zodiac signs. But then, on the awakening side, coming back up, it's like becoming that Christ or that, Jesus with the 12 disciples or the 12 disciplines, the 12 zodiac signs, breaking out of those 12 zodiac signs into that number 13, which in essence, though, 13 is Ophiuchus, the 13th sign or the middle of the galaxy. But turn into that number 13 and you break away from the zodiac signs. So in essence, our aim is to not continuously, be ruled by these, planets and zodiac signs, but at the same time, their influence is there nonetheless. And Saturn's influence, I had to take note of this because I feel like this is that, like Saturn influences everybody to a certain extent, where like when we get to that age of like 28 or 30, how we all just kind of make that, like in most cases, if you had to do like an average on where people start making those real strong steps of like change or like, doing things or shaking things up in life, like it would be like that 28, 30-year-old, range. I like to always keep in perspective 28 or 30 Earth years, of course. We are infinite beings. We're only talking about how long our bodysuit been present on this plane, holding our consciousness, But Saturn basically makes a 28 to 30-year transit from its original position during our birth. So, say for instance, you got a little drawing right here, the 12 houses or whatever. So, if Saturn was in your third house when you was born, in 30 years, it'll make that transit, back around. And when Saturn does that, though, it creates a certain type of structure, a certain type of vibration. Matter of fact, and I say structure because that's what Saturn does. It brings forth structure, boundaries, responsibility. Again, that and also, so say for instance, the Satan Lucifer energy also seen as Saturn itself, not just the aspect of the energy that created the whole zodiac sign system, all that vibe, but also I forgot that. Oh, also consider Saturn, the Saturn energy or Satan, Saturn is its metal is lead, lead is a heavy metal, like heavy metal. All that go together, or the 666, the black box, the hex, all that. You see the correlation of Yeshua, Jesus, and the devil in that situation where you got the black box or the cube that's representation dealing with Saturn, but then at the same time you open up a cube and it'll look like a cross, like the one that Jesus was crucified on, or being crucified coming into this physical existence, into Malkut, But I digress in that area. But again, it like 28 to 30 years. So starting from whatever house is in when we're first born, it makes a full transit in 30 years, and as it goes about, you know, it deals with these certain qualities, which I'm gonna bring up the qualities of these different houses, you know. So in essence, you could just get an idea of how it creates a certain structure to our growth. So another transition that you may notice is at the age of like 14 or 15, you know, we come to a little, almost like a second stage, you know, especially like dealing with the Saturn energy. But like, so say for instance, you know, from when we're 14 to 15, so say for instance, when 14 to 15, so say for instance, if Saturn started right here, when we're 14 to 15, Saturn gonna be done travel to the 6th. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, think about half of 15 is 30, you know, 30 years. So half of 30, the full 30 would be 15. That would be half right here, stopping at 6. So, you know, from the first house to the 6th house, you know, all those aspects, you know, basically they're not polarizing against each other. You know, they're different aspects, but they're not polarized against each other. But then once, you know, you pass the 6, then these over here are polarizing against the ones down here. So let's see, like the 7 characteristics are polarized to the 1, you know, so the 7 to the 1, the 2 and the 8 energies are polarized. So you're gonna learn, say for instance, let's just get into that, you know. So say for instance, the 1, first house, if Saturn was in your first house, you know, it was structuring yourself, appearances, beginnings, you know, the body, first impression, attitude, identity, you know, approach to life. You know, Saturn was structuring that energy, you know, when in that's the first house again. So structuring the first house energy. But then when you make so say for instance, like when you make 15, so in essence, like right around like when you make 16 or something like that, it goes to the you know, the 7th house. The 7th house deals with relationships, marriage, contracts, business partners, equality, sharing, interpersonal style. So, you know, the 1 was more about self, more about, you know, my appearance, you know, and you know, my body, first impressions, identity, you know, self, like, until you see the correlation of how, you know, with numerology, where the number 1, you know, in essence have a certain vibration to it, and it also carries within these houses with the zodiac signs as well. But you know, the 1 itself, but then when you, so Saturn structures that part, you know, at the beginning, but then come around like when you make 16, it's gonna start structuring the opposite aspect, you know, or the opposite aspects. It begins to work on the opposite aspects of the first houses you went through, you know what I'm saying? And this works whether you start at the house 1, you know what I'm saying, whether Saturn started in your 4th house, and you know, it goes around, but it'll, you know, you have like, so it'll be 4 to 9, you know, say for instance, if when you was born, Saturn was in your 4th house, that means when you make 15, it'll be your 9th house. Then it would, again, so you started at 4, so right after 9, what's right after 9? 10, which opposes 4, you know, see it kind of cross, you see that correlation. I know my little wheel ain't, you know, up to par, but it's good enough. But you know, so you start to structure, first you structure the, you know, the first half, which is getting the structure of these, you know, new energies in at the beginning, and then you start to deal with the opposing energies till you come around when you're 30 and you made the full cycle of structuring, you know, both aspects, or just say all aspects, you know, of the houses. But again, like, well, you know, the one side and then the other side, you know, as far as the polarization of the characteristics, you know, you structure all that within your, you know, within your growth. So like, again, you know, not only when you're 30, you know, you see a significant difference, but the first transition you'll see too is like when you're 15, you know, because let's say for example, which I'm gonna go through some of the characters. So matter of fact, all right, I'm gonna do it after I do the example. So if I was, let's just say Saturn was, sure, all right. So if Saturn started in my 5th house, that means, when I'm 15, it'll come all the way around to what that is. Oh wait, hold on, cause now my little drawing messing me up. So I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna just go with the 1 and the 6. Do it like that, just to give the oh no. I want to do a different aspect. The 2 and the 8. So, say for instance, Saturn is in the 2nd house when you're born. So that means it'll be in the 8th house, around that area when you're 14, 15. So, say for instance, the 2 opposes the 8. So, say for instance, when you're born, Saturn is structuring the energy of the 2, and the 2 deals with money, work, income, daily routines, values, material possessions, priorities, habits, your job, and work ethic. So Saturn is structuring that area, that aspect of your life, from the beginning. Then come around when you're around that 15, the age of 15, now Saturn is in a house that is in essence opposing the energies of the 2. You know what I'm saying? So you structured the first part of it, now you're structuring the opposing part. So after you dealt, so say for instance, the money, work, income, daily routines, values, material possessions, priorities, that was structured first, and see the correlation of what I just named compared to, the number 8 energy, which is merging, sex, intimacy, shared finances, taxes, inheritance, loans, joint ventures, partner, or I should say partner. Yeah, but anyway, you see like where the 2 deals with more of the individual self with the money, you know what I'm saying? The money, possessions, working, habits, but more so from an individual aspect, because again, too, like the beginning, the beginning of the houses start 1, 2, 3, it's structuring you through each little aspect, and then when you get to the other aspects, like you start to add, other people and interacting, into the situation. But again, you see like the 2 is more of the self, dealing with the money for the self, and the 8 is dealing with, the finances and stuff, like shared finances. So basically, like having money with somebody, or in essence, that the bringing together that masculine and feminine aspect. Matter of fact, the 8, is infinity. Life is infinite, and so it would make sense for it to deal with merging and sex and intimacy. 8 also gonna embody, feminine. It's curves. So it's a feminine number in essence. But that's basically, just the vibe of how Saturn, goes through our cycles and, structures, each part. So when it comes down to, astrology, knowing these things help you to get more clarity to know like what's going on, within your life, what energies are influencing your actions and your consciousness, because again, you want to go about life as if these things won't affect you and don't affect you in essence, but to a certain extent, it's like it's a growth. You are breaking away from being controlled by them, but at the same time, I don't know, that is a tricky place, I'll be honest, because I feel like, I'm growing away from my zodiac sign, and in the essence, though, I see where it's more towards, when you get away from your ego. But even then, so say for instance, when I start to get away from my ego or lower nature, in essence, now I just be more of a Sagittarius, more of the sign that I would be if the 13th sign was back into the equation. If Ophiuchus was back in the equation, I'd be a Sagittarius, And when I'm more in my higher self, I'm more with that vibe of Sagittarius, When I'm more and more so towards my soul, and then when I'm more in my physical being, so not the negative aspect of myself, but just that physical, human self, then I'm more in that Capricorn vibe, in the 12 zodiac sign astrology. And the thing for me, like, well, of course, man, I'm living my life uniquely every day, every second. But I keep it real when I could look back and say, damn, passing pretty close. Like when I could look and be like, damn, that situation was some real like the way I acted in that situation was like real Capricorn, like, and I can't deny it, like, that falls under the characteristics of a textbook Capricorn, to be exact, So it's seeing these things influence you, but just not letting it be like, kind of like I explained with the weather, like, you're not like sitting there like letting the weather rule you, and you're not worshiping the weather, but at the same time the weather does affect the way you carry yourself in your everyday life, So it's just that aspect of balance, You can't be all on one side with it, like, well, I'm all the way out of it, or I'm all the way in it. It's a balance of being a little, you don't want to lock yourself into astrology, but at the same time it is very useful to deal with on our spiritual growth. Like, it brings forth a lot of insight, and honestly, like, that's undeniable, again. And so going into insight, when you learn about the different houses, and you learn about, all right, and say for instance, most of us or some of us, I don't know how young the crowd is or whatever, but well, even if you get to the 30 cycles, so say for instance, with the situation I'm talking about now, with Saturn getting the full cycle of structuring things by the time you make 30, if some of us already 30, you map it out, you may say like, all right, well, I'm not really predicting anything. Well, you could look at, the fact that Saturn has to make another cycle. So you could see where you're going to be going through some structure again in certain areas, Because again, it's inevitable. Like, these energies are real. When Saturn is in a certain area, it deals with a certain energy or a certain house, And those energies, influence what's going on this realm, And again, so if you pass 30, you could see what Saturn is going to structure starting again on this next cycle, because it's going to cycle again, So on the next cycle, like what you refining, in essence, structuring up even more, like, and you could see like what you're going to be going through, like, all right, I better prepare for this or that, because Saturn going to be, so say for instance, Saturn about to pass, I'm about to be 31, and Saturn will be passing through my 9th house. 9th house deal with travel, wisdom, philosophy, higher education, law and religion, cross-cultural relations, and learning ethics. So, when I learned of the Saturn coming in my 9th, all right, but now is a perfect opportunity to structure things, or to create, like, so basically, like, if I want to set the foundation for things, in essence, like if I want to go traveling, because traveling, higher education, cross-cultural relationships, like, I want to do that. I know I'm gonna have some energy supporting me, having a foundation in that place and structuring and building in that area. I'm gonna have some, and matter of fact, and too, with Saturn, I forgot, also bringing things down into the physical existence. Feel like Saturn grounds things in this physical existence. So, you know, whenever you say, for instance, so if you're 31 and, you know, Saturn about to be in your ninth house, then, you know, like, all right, damn, it's about to be time I could travel, you know, time to get into some books and read, stuff like that, because I'm going to be able to retain information and be, you know, more in tune with it, because Saturn is going to be, you know, structuring that area of my life, you know what I'm saying? So compared to where, you know, Saturn structuring, you know, those characteristics, you know, Saturn structuring those characteristics because it's dealing with that house. But even though you know that, instead, or say for instance, that's what's happening, but because you don't know it or you're not knowledgeable of it, you're trying to push through some other energies at that time, you know what I'm saying? Where you trying to, you know, like, well, I'm gonna work on home and roots and family and self-care, like in the fourth house. I'm gonna end up, you're not, as a matter of fact, not saying you're working on the fourth house, but like, you know, like you find yourself working in other characteristics when Saturn over here helping you structure some characteristics over here, you know, where it'd be beneficial to, if you know, to work over here to bring these things in the physical, because the universe is supporting it right now, compared to you trying to paddle upstream and go somewhere else. But again, just seeing how Saturn, you know, creates that structure in our life, and in most cases create the structure to a point of like a jumping out the nest type of vibe, you know, again, like with that 30 years old, 28-year-old range, you know, is when a lot of us have that them strong life realizations, you know, for like what's the next move, or what, you know, or what, you know, what we're gonna do in life, what's next, you know, whatever the case may be. But, you know, a lot of that energy is present because of, you know, Saturn. And then two, after it's all said and done, you look at the situation where a lot of us, again, deal with this energy at that age. So you could kind of say that would support that, all right, Saturn must, you know, have some type of little structure where it completes one little range of fullness, one little 360 degrees, you know what I'm saying, of fullness. And then we kind of get some type of aha moment, you know, from there, you know. So seeing that kind of supports that, you know, these energies would, you know, that Saturn energy has some type of effect on structuring our, you know, our life and our growth in essence. But that's basically it. You know, just wanted to share that situation, because matter of fact, basically it's Saturn creating a maturation situation. And, you know, how I spoke on the devil setting up, you know, the zodiac signs, because every zodiac sign, as above so below, is like a part of a body. When you look at Saturn and the Capricorn energy and what it deals with, and number 4 energy, you know, it's creating a foundation and structures, the needs of the body. Like, you know, just like creating a body, like, say for instance, energetically, you know, that Satan, or not use the word Satan, but that Lucifer energy, you know, creating in the physical, energetically, you know, that energy was creating, you know, a body, even without creating a body, you know, in essence, you know. But it's like, I gotta add the part of consciousness that deals with structure, you know, because being a Capricorn in essence is a consciousness, you know, but that consciousness is just like the knee structure of a human body. So people who embody a Capricorn energy is going to add the structure to society, you know what I'm saying, like the structure to the living existence. The Aries are gonna make sure they implement the me first, like taking care of myself vibration, you know what I'm saying, like, and when all, like on some Captain Planet type of vibe, when all those 12 zodiac powers combine, it creates a full human being, you know, a full being. As above, so below, you know. Again, the zodiac signs go through our body, you know, and that's that same aspect, you know, those energies creating you know, a body on a physical level, just with the energies, you know, itself personified into, you know, into certain body parts in essence. You know, because that building of the physical existence. Then after we structure, do this, and have our little lessons, now like, all right, awaken to that, you know, that Christ energy, and not to be, and it's not no battle like, all right, now we about to battle against the physical nature. It's just know we're growing more towards, you know, the Christ energy of more so of a, I want to say like a realization as much as it's just like going through certain energies. You know, it's a realization of like, oh, all right, wait, hold on, you know, I am source. So of course these zodiac signs exist, but I'm more, you know, I'm past that. I'm everything on a whole nother level. But I mean, you know, trying to not trying to finding the right words for this, but I digress. Anyway, must have not been that important. But that's basically it. Peace. Happy now. Now is a vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now.